This is Mercy Pilkington for Good E-Reader, talking again to Michael Tamblyn from Kobo Books. And we're here in London for the FutureBook event, having a little pre-discussion about what we're going to hear some topics on tomorrow. So first of all, what I'd like to ask you about is how do you feel Kobo's presence in so many of the different markets, whether it's just ebook distribution or actually promoting writing life there, how do you feel like that's having an impact on reading versus writing?
I think what we're seeing as we move from market to market is that readers are suddenly realizing that they are no longer constrained to their own bookstore anymore. They're no longer constrained to their local bookstore anymore. They aren't even necessarily constrained to their own language anymore. And so that's resulting in people able to read across not just their own national literature, but also those from other countries. If they've come from a different language, they're also maybe able to reach back into the language of a country that they left when they moved. So rather than us having a series of relatively isolated national book markets, we're now starting to see a much more kind of permeable and transferable international book market.
And when you mention that these writers may want to take into consideration foreign language markets, what does an author need to be aware of in terms of looking for translation and foreign rights and looking for these platforms that are going to allow them to develop a global brand, especially if they're self-published?
For us as a global retailer, a global ebook retailer, things that might not bother say a book-selling chain in a particular country become significant issues to us. So, for example, a major bestseller that launches, but only launches in 2 countries, with release dates that get staggered out over a number of months or over the course of a year, even from market to market. With people able to find out about new books online practically instantaneously, that reader in Australia doesn't want to have to wait for 3 or 4 months for that new bestseller to come to them. They expect it to come right away. So looking at the launches of popular books with a global mentality becomes very important. On the other side, so if that's bestsellers at one end of the spectrum, we have self-published authors at the other end, and they too are beginning to realize that they really aren't just writing for their own national market anymore. That the stories that they're telling and the audiences and the fan bases that they're gathering spread across, in some cases, many different countries. And that began with people writing, say, in the United States or in the UK and selling into other English language markets, but has now spread so that those self-published authors are starting to commission their own translators, are starting to get their own new editions made in new languages as they find out where their fans and readers are. So we now have self-published authors who have retranslated themselves in 6 languages and are, in a sense, fully multinational publishers of a handful of books. That's a completely new thing that we've never seen before.
Now, one of the things that has possibly led to this global expansion of Kobo and the recognition of it is that so many of the people behind Kobo are so accessible. They're constantly speaking on panels or writing articles, participating in